Hello friends, how are you all? Let's start with the preparation of hydrogen from water. So dear friends, this hydrogen gas from water is produced by the electrolysis process. Now, in this electrolysis process, we are going to study how the electrolysis takes place. But in this electrolysis process, there are concepts, there are different terms. These terms, firstly, we are going to study. So we are going to study firstly what is electrolysis, what are the different types of electrodes used, what is the electrolytic container, what is electrolysis, what is anode, what is cathode. All these terms firstly we will study, and then slowly we'll move towards the electrolysis of water. So firstly friends, for this preparation of hydrogen, let us start with what is electrolysis. Dear friends, the word electrolysis itself tells you electro, that means electricity, and lysis means breakup. Lysis means breakup. You are breaking that water molecule by passing electric current. So that is called as electrolysis. Breaking of any substance into its components by passing electric current is called as electrolysis. Is called as electrolysis. So dear friends, when you pass electric current through any substance which is in a dissolved state, you are dissolving that compound or a substance in water or a suitable solvent, or that substance is in a molten state. Molten state, lava is a molten state. Metals, when they are melted slowly, that stage is called as the molten stage. And when you pass electric current through a dissolved substance or a molten state material, or a molten state material, certain reactions take place on it. Certain reactions take place. That is, oxidation may take place or your reduction may take place. And such a changes that takes place in a substance, such a changes or chemical changes in a substance when it is in a dissolved state or a molten state, by passing the electric current, by passing the electric current is called as electrolysis. It's called as electrolysis. And this process of electrolysis, the entire process of electrolysis, you cannot carry out anyhow. It requires a special type of container called as the electrolytic cell. Called as the electrolytic cell. Then you are going to pass the electric current. So for passing the electric current, you will require the electrodes. So the metallic plates or the rods which are connected to the battery with the help of wire. The metallic plates or the rods which are connected to the battery with the help of electric wires are called as the electrodes. There are two electrodes, one connected to the positive plate, one connected to the negative plate. You also require the battery. Then you require the wires for this completing the circuit. So these are the special requirements for the electrolysis process to take place. Now, the container, which is mostly made up of glass, in which the electrolysis takes place by passing the electric current. Very good. The container made up of glass in which you carry out the electrolysis process by passing the electric current is called as the electrolytic cell. Is called as the electrolytic cell. And what's the electrolyte? Yes. So electrolyte is a compound or a substance that conducts electricity due to the presence of ions. Any substance that conducts electricity that is in a liquid state. Okay. So electrolyte is a compound that conducts electricity when electric current is passed through it due to the presence of ions. Due to the presence of ions. That means it produces ions. We have seen how many types of ions are there? Two types. The positively charged cations and negatively charged anions. And this electrolyte conducts electricity due to the presence of ions in this. Due to the presence of ions in it. Now, electrolytes, these electrolytes are mostly the aqueous solutions. Means a salt is taken. Salt, anything that contains positive and negative charge is your salt. When you dissolve this salt in water, that is the aqueous solution of that salt. So, electrolytes are mostly the aqueous solutions or the molten states. Molten, as I have told you, metal can be melted. That's called as the molten state. So, electrolytes are mostly the aqueous solutions or molten form of ionic compounds or the polar covalent compounds which contain ions, So let us see few examples of your electrolytes. Strong electrolytes, your acids, HCl, H2SO4, HNO3. These are the strong electrolytes. Then sodium hydroxide, sodium chloride. These are the strong electrolytes. They produce complete ions of their solution. They undergo complete ionization. Or they dissociate completely to produce the corresponding ions. What is corresponding ion? HCl will produce H plus and Cl minus. In the same way, NaOH will produce Na plus and OH minus. So these are the ions which are produced, positive and negative ions. But the weak electrolytes, they do not undergo complete ionization. Some molecules, they remain undissociated, or they are not dissociated. They are not ionized. Some molecules remain as it is, and some molecules, they undergo ionization. So they are called as, they are partially ionized. They are the weak electrolytes. Example, acetic acid. So you can be asked, the formula of acetic acid is CH3COOH, and ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, are the weak electrolytes. So classify the following into strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Very nice. Now let us move towards the next concept, that is electrodes. So as I said, the metallic plates or the rods, we can see in the diagram. See these plates which are connected to the battery. This is one plate, and this is the another plate which is connected to the battery. This can be in the form of plates or maybe in the form of rods, which are used for the electrical contact. Are called as the electrodes. So through the electrodes, your electric current enters, and through the another electrode, it leaves the electrolyte. And these electrolytes are mostly made up of inert metals or unreactive substances like graphite. They are made up of inert metals or the unreactive substances, so that they do not take part in the electrolysis process. Their role is only to pass the electric current in or out. They should not take part in a chemical reaction, and therefore they are mostly made up of inert or unreactive substances, so that they do not react with the electrolyte and they do not take part in the chemical reactions. These electrodes are of two types, anode and cathode. The electrode which is connected to the positive terminal of the battery is called as anode. We can see it in the diagram. See, this is your anode. The electrode which is connected to the positive terminal of the battery is called as the anode. And therefore, the electrode which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery is called as cathode. So, anode and cathode are the two electrodes. The positive electrode through which the electric current enters is called as the anode. The positive terminal is called as the anode, and the negative terminal or the negative electrode through which the current leaves is called as the cathode. The negative electrode through which the current leaves is called as the cathode. Now, dear friends, anode and cathode are the two electrodes. We can see it over here. Anode, which is connected to the positive terminal, cathode, which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Now this anode, at anode, anions are attracted. Anions have which charge? Negative charge. So they are attracted towards the oppositely charged electrode. So anions are attracted towards the anode, and cations with a positive charge are attracted towards the cathode. So in the electrolysis process, the ions are attracted towards the oppositely charged electrodes. They are attracted towards the oppositely charged electrodes. Cations are attracted towards the cathode, and anions are attracted towards the anode. Okay, and over there they undergo their reactions of oxidation and reduction. So let us see the difference between anode and cathode. So anode, which is connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and cathode, which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Through anode, the electric current enters the solution or the electrolytic cell. Through the anode, the electric current enters the electrolytic solution or the electrolytic cell. And through the cathode, it leaves the circuit or it leaves the electrolyte. Anions like Cl minus, CO3 minus minus, OH minus, etc. They are attracted towards the anode, and at anode they undergo oxidation, that is loss of electrons, And at cathode, the cations like Na plus, Ca plus plus, Al3 plus, NH4 plus, etc. or your H plus, they are all attracted towards the cathode. At cathode, they undergo reduction. Reduction is gain of electron, and now they are discharged at cathode. These are few points of difference between anode and cathode. So dear friends, now we have seen what is electrolysis, the process that takes place with the solution by passing electric current through it, that is formation of ions, and the various reactions is called as electrolysis. We have seen the electrolytic cell, we have seen the electrodes, anode and cathode. And we have also seen the ions, they are attracted towards the oppositely charged electrodes. Now let us start with the electrolysis of acidified water to generate hydrogen gas. Our main aim is to produce the hydrogen gas that we are going to now study, that is the electrolysis of acidified water by carrying the electrolysis process to generate the hydrogen gas. We are going to generate the hydrogen gas. So firstly, make it very clear to you friends, pure water does not contain large quantity of ions. It contains very negligible amount of ions, H plus and OH minus ions, and therefore it does not conduct electricity so easily. And if electricity is not conducted, there will be no any hydrogen gas generated. So electricity should pass through the water, and so to make it as a good conductor of electricity, we are going to add a few drops of dilute sulfuric acid to it. When you add little drops or few drops of dilute sulfuric acid to it, it forms the acidified water or acidulated water. So what is acidulated water? Water to which a few drops of sulfuric acid is added is called as acidulated water, and this acidulated water, when electric current is passed through it, produces hydrogen ions and the OH minus ions, H plus ions and the OH minus ions. So to make water good conductor of electricity, we are going to add few drops of sulfuric acid to it. This is called as the acidified water or the acidulated water. Now this acidulated water, when electric current is passed, it produces H plus ions and OH minus ions. H plus and OH minus ions. And where are these ions attracted, dear friends? Anyone from the class? Where are these H plus and OH minus ions attracted? Yeah, they are attracted towards the oppositely charged electrodes. So H plus ions are attracted towards the cathode, and at cathode reduction reaction takes place. Reduction is gain of electrons. So the H plus ions which are attracted, they undergo reduction. So you can see the reaction, twice H plus aqueous. That means it is in the water. Aqueous plus 2 electrons from the cathode. How the electrons are coming? Because see, we can see the cathode is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So electrons will be coming from here. Electrons are being supplied, isn't it? So at cathode, reduction of H plus ions takes place. Twice H plus 2 electrons will form H2 gas. And at cathode, hydrogen gas is liberated. Therefore, at cathode, these bubbles of hydrogen gas, you can see these bubbles of hydrogen gas. So hydrogen gas is liberated. This assembly is totally filled with water, acidulated water. These are your anode and cathode. This is your battery. Now in this acidulated water, you have also added a few drops of H2SO4 to the water. So it is acidulated water. Now what happens at cathode is reduction. Hydrogen gas is now liberated very slowly in the form of bubbles, and it is collected over here in this container. or the cell. Now, what happens to the hydroxide ions? Hydroxide ions means, dear friends, OH minus ions, means the OH minus ions, and they are attracted towards the anode. They are attracted towards the anode. Now at anode, what happens to these OH minus ions? At anode, oxidation takes place. Oxidation is loss of electrons. So OH minus ion loses electron to form OH. To form OH, it's going to lose the electron. OH minus gives OH plus 1 electron. You can make this change in your textbook also. Okay, OH minus gives OH plus 1 electron, and now this OH, 4 OH molecules, they generate O2 gas and water molecule. The water molecule remains in the cell over here itself, but the oxygen gas travels up and is collected over here. So in this way, oxygen is liberated at anode and hydrogen is liberated at cathode. Now the overall reaction. What is overall reaction now? You are going to combine these two reactions. That is the reaction taking place at cathode and the reaction taking place at anode. You can combine the two reactions, and the combined reaction or the overall reaction is therefore twice H2O forms twice H2 plus O2. That means hydrogen gas is liberated and oxygen gas is liberated at the respective electrodes. Hydrogen at cathode and at anode, oxygen is liberated. And see here, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen is liberated. That means they are liberated in the ratio of 2:1. 2:1. So in this way, by carrying out the electrolysis of acidified water, we can generate hydrogen at cathode and oxygen at anode. Now see here, the liberated gases, they are collected over here. From here, they are transferred to the cylinders. They are purified properly, they are dried, and they can be used up. So questions can be asked. Differentiate between anode and cathode. Give the reactions at anode and cathode for the electrolysis of water. So at anode, what happens? At anode, oxidation takes place to generate oxygen gas, and at cathode, reduction takes place to generate hydrogen gas. So these reactions can be also asked. Very nice. Now, dear friends, let us see the laboratory preparation of hydrogen gas. Once we start with our practicals, we can also generate the hydrogen gas in the laboratory. How is it? Let us see the reaction. Metal plus dilute acid like HCl, H2SO4. We have to carry out these reactions under the supervision of your educators. So metal plus dilute acid will form salt and hydrogen. Salt and hydrogen gas will be given out. Let us see a few examples. Metal is your sodium plus dilute sulfuric acid. Formula for sulfuric acid, anyone? H2SO4, very nice. But you are going to take dilute, not the concentrated. Okay, sodium, metal plus H2SO4 forms the salt Na2SO4. And hydrogen gas is liberated. In the same way, aluminium plus HCl. Aluminium plus HCl, you can get the formation of AlCl3. Over here, you can get the formation of AlCl3. You can make the change in your textbook. They should be, when hydrochloric acid is used, it will be AlCl3 and hydrogen gas is liberated. Or when you are going to use H2SO4, this will be Al2SO4 thrice plus hydrogen gas. Now, dear friends, we are using sodium metal and aluminium metal over here. Instead of sodium metal and aluminium metal, mostly in the laboratory, zinc granules, fine pieces of zinc are preferred for the generation of hydrogen gas. We have used sodium metal, aluminium metal. We can also use the zinc metal granules in the laboratory, or we prefer the zinc granules more than the other metals. Why? Because these zinc granules, they contain little traces of impurities. They contain traces of impurities, and these traces of impurities which are present, the traces of impurities which are present in the zinc granules, they act as a positive catalyst. They act as a positive catalyst and they increases the rate of reaction. That means the hydrogen gas is generated very easily. So that is why impure zinc granules are preferred than pure zinc. Impure, it contains traces of impurities. And what is the role of these traces of impurities? They act as a positive catalyst. What is positive catalyst? In the last lesson we have seen. Positive catalyst is a catalyst that increases the rate of reaction. Impurities present in the zinc granules, they act as a positive catalyst. So let us see a few examples of this. Zinc plus H2SO4, metal plus acid forms ZnSO4 plus hydrogen gas is liberated, or zinc plus HCl, ZnCl2 and hydrogen gas is liberated. See the difference, dear friends. ZnSO4, SO4 minus minus and Zn plus plus. When we make the formula, they will get cancelled with each other. And so ZnSO4. And this ZnCl2, Cl minus, one negative charge only. So ZnCl2, because Zn plus plus and Cl minus. So when you cross it, you will get the formation of ZnCl2. Now, the hydrogen which is released in this equation is collected in a suitable apparatus, Now, when you have seen these two reactions, dear friends, the first two also H2SO4 and HCl. Over here also H2SO4 and HCl. We are using H2SO4 or HCl only. We are not using the dilute nitric acid. HNO3 is the nitric acid because it is a strong oxidizing agent. It gives oxygen, supplies oxygen very fastly. So hydrogen produced plus oxygen will form the water molecule, and therefore nitric acid is not at all used for the generation of hydrogen gas, because the hydrogen gas produced will react with the oxygen supplied by nitric acid. Nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. It gives oxygen very easily. So hydrogen plus oxygen will form water, and therefore nitric acid is not at all used, as it is a powerful oxidizing agent. So in this way, we have seen the laboratory preparation of hydrogen gas by using the metals. But which metal we should prefer? We should prefer the impure zinc granules. Why? Because they contain the impurities, and those impurities increase the rate of generation of hydrogen gas. Dear friends, let us see one activity. We all are eager to go in the chemistry laboratory and prepare the hydrogen gas in the laboratory. Before we move to the laboratory, let's have that activity over here. So a flat bottom flask is taken. We can see the bottom of this flask is flat. So it is called as a flat bottom flask, in which the zinc granules are taken. Dear friends, we have seen the concept why zinc granules are preferred. So the zinc granules are taken. A thistle funnel used for the addition of a liquid material. So a thistle funnel which has a tube through which dilute hydrochloric acid is added very slowly as per our requirement. Through this tube, now what will happen? The reaction between zinc and HCl will take place, producing ZnCl2. ZnCl2 will remain in the round bottom flask itself, but the hydrogen gas liberated, being lighter, travels up. And through this delivery tube, you can see this delivery tube. Through this delivery tube, it travels over here. Now, this inverted tube or cylinder contains water. Now what happens? Your hydrogen gas, see the properties: lighter and immiscible in water. So as it is lighter, it will travel up, and it is immiscible, so it will travel up, and this test tube will get filled with hydrogen gas. As this test tube goes on filling, it will push the water down. That means every time when these test tubes get filled slowly, the water is pushed down, and this is called as the collection of hydrogen gas, that is the lighter hydrogen gas, by downward displacement of water. Why it is called as downward displacement of water? Because this hydrogen gas is lighter, travels up, its volume increases, creates a pressure on water, pushes the water slowly down, and the hydrogen gas gets collected in the empty volume available. And this is called as the downward displacement of water. So hydrogen gas is collected by downward displacement of water. Why? Because firstly, it is lighter than water. Secondly, immiscible in water. So it is collected by, and thirdly, it does not react with water. That's also an important reason why it is collected by downward displacement of water. So in this way, we can generate the hydrogen gas in the laboratory. Once we start with our practicals, we are going to see this, dear friends. You all are eager. I'm also eager to work with you. Surely after a few days, we can again rejoin back. And now what is the test? That the produced gas is only hydrogen? The bubbles, you can see these bubbles coming out. But what is the proof that this gas is hydrogen? So what you have to do is bring a burning matchstick near it, splinter, a burning splinter. And this gas catches fire, burns with a pop sound, burns with a pop sound. So this pop sound is a test for hydrogen. Pop sound is a test for hydrogen gas. Now, dear friends, there are many metals which are placed above hydrogen and they can displace hydrogen from its position to generate the hydrogen gas. But we prefer zinc. We prefer zinc. Why? Firstly, zinc is more reactive than the other metals like iron, tin, and lead, and therefore can displace hydrogen very easily. Iron, lead, tin, they cannot displace that so easily, but zinc can displace very easily. Then you cannot use the metals like sodium and potassium, highly reactive. The reactions cannot be controlled easily. So instead of using such highly reactive metals like sodium and potassium, we should always prefer zinc, or we always prefer zinc in the laboratory preparation. Iron, tin, lead, they cannot easily displace hydrogen. They cannot easily displace hydrogen, but zinc can easily displace hydrogen, and therefore zinc is preferred. Sodium and potassium are highly reactive. The reaction is uncontrollable, explosive, and therefore in laboratory we cannot carry out such conditions, isn't it? We cannot work under such conditions. So that is why zinc is preferred. Then zinc is less expensive than calcium and magnesium. Less expensive, thoda sa cheap hai. Then aluminium is not affected, not an effective choice as it stops reacting after some time. Aluminium, it stops working after some time. It does not liberate out hydrogen so easily because it has more affinity for oxygen. So what happens? It reacts, or aluminium reacts with oxygen and forms a layer around it. It forms an oxide layer around it. And so when an oxide layer is formed around aluminium, it will not react with the acids. And therefore aluminium is also not preferred. Then iron requires a little bit of heating. Instead of heating, we can carry out the reaction by using zinc at the room temperature itself. We have just seen this part that it is carried out without heating process. So zinc is more profitable for us. Instead of heating, this is good one. Then the reaction of lead with dilute hydrochloric and sulfuric acid produces chlorides and sulfates of lead, chlorides and sulfates, and these are insoluble. So they stop the reaction. They stop the further reaction, and therefore zinc granules, because of all such conditions, zinc granules are preferred. We should prefer. Now, dear friends, this hydrogen gas has a wide application in industries also. We are going to see the applications of this hydrogen gas, and so it has to be produced on a large scale. The processes that we have just seen, these were the laboratory preparation on a small scale, just for our experimental purpose or for study purpose. Now, when this hydrogen gas is required in the industry on a large scale, it has to be produced in that manner. And the process is known as the Bosch process, which is a three-step process. But before I tell you, or before I teach you the 3 steps, I want 2 things from you. The first thing, is this hydrogen soluble in water? Just think, is this hydrogen gas soluble in water? No, we have just seen. Just move a little bit up. Over here, it was insoluble in water, isn't it? So collected over here. So it is not soluble in water. The first property, keep in your mind, hydrogen is insoluble in water before we move towards the Bosch process or industrial production of hydrogen. The first thing, it is insoluble in water. Secondly, tell me, is carbon dioxide soluble in water? Carbon dioxide? You can give me an example also to prove that carbon dioxide is soluble or not soluble. Think. Yeah, carbon dioxide is soluble in water. The rainwater which comes down, the carbon dioxide combines with it. Rainwater coming down, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere combines with it and forms the carbonic acid, H2CO3. That means carbon dioxide is soluble in water. So keep these two things in your mind. Hydrogen gas is not soluble in water. Carbon dioxide is soluble in water. And what we are going to do now, we are going to produce hydrogen gas on a large scale. And we are going to use these two properties also. So the first step is production of water gas. What is water gas? Mixture of CO and H2 is called as the water gas. CO, carbon monoxide, and H2 is called as the water gas. So how is this water gas produced? Firstly, a superheated steam. Steam produced from water. So the formula will be again H2O, but it is superheated. It is made to react with carbon at a high temperature. It is allowed to react with carbon or white hot coke. White hot coke at around 1270 Kelvin. So when this carbon reacts with superheated steam at 1270 degrees Celsius Kelvin, it forms water gas. What is water gas? Mixture of CO and H2. CO and H2. So in this way, first step, we have produced the water gas. One use of this water gas, we are going to separate out the hydrogen. That's the clear thing that we are generating hydrogen. But one more use of this hydrogen gas is for the generation or preparation or synthesis of hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are the compounds made up of hydrogen and carbon. Hydrogen and carbon. So, see, this water gas contains carbon dioxide also, that is carbon and hydrogen. So, it is used for the generation of hydrocarbons. Used for the generation of hydrocarbons or synthesis of hydrocarbons, and so it is also called as the syngas, synthesis of hydrocarbons. So, syngas, and the process of producing syngas is known as coal gasification. So we have produced the water gas CO plus H2 in the first step. What is this minus heat? Minus heat means heat is supplied. This reaction takes place at 1270 Kelvin. So heat is supplied. Now from this CO and H2, we need to separate H2. But it is difficult to separate CO and H2. So we will convert this CO into CO2. So the second step is conversion of CO into CO2. So what is done now? This CO plus H2 is reacted with equal volume of steam again in presence of iron chromate as a catalyst. CO and H2, that is water gas, is allowed to react with steam in presence of iron chromate as a catalyst, where CO is converted into CO2. And now your mixture contains CO2 and H2. And this reaction is also called as water gas shift reaction. Now the third step, we are going to separate H2 from the mixture. Which mixture? CO2 and H2. So dear friends, separation of hydrogen from the mixture of CO2 and H2. But we know two properties. Hydrogen is not soluble in water and carbon dioxide is soluble in water. Let's make use of these two properties. Hydrogen not soluble and carbon dioxide soluble in water. So what is done? This mixture of CO2 and H2 is passed through water under pressure. That means we are going to apply a pressure in a container. We are going to take water and we are going to pass this in that container or cylinder. We are going to pass this CO2 and H2. And now we are going to pass it in excess so that a pressure is applied of the CO2 and H2. And what happens over here is CO2 reacts with water to form H2CO3. And is hydrogen gas miscible in that water? No, it will travel up. After some time, this pure hydrogen gas is collected and again it is purified by separate methods to get pure hydrogen. So in this way, when we know that carbon dioxide is miscible in water, reacts with water to form H2CO3. We have taken the help of this simple reaction. And in this way, hydrogen gas is separated. Now, this hydrogen gas which is separated is again purified, refined by various techniques and used in the industries. Now, what are the physical properties of hydrogen? Till now, we have learned that this hydrogen we cannot see colorless, we cannot smell odorless, tasteless, and non-poisonous gas. It is non-poisonous gas, insoluble in water, lightest gas. It is 14 times lighter than air. 14 times lighter than air. And it can be liquefied by applying a pressure of 20 atmosphere. When we apply a pressure on this hydrogen gas now in a cylinder, if we take hydrogen, pure hydrogen, and apply a pressure on it, the same hydrogen का pressure ही हम apply करेंगे. If we apply a pressure on it at around 20 atmosphere and temperature of minus 240 degrees Celsius, temperature minus 240 degrees Celsius, we get liquid hydrogen. We get liquid hydrogen. So in this way, we have seen the generation of hydrogen gas, the generation of hydrogen gas. Now, this hydrogen gas is not collected by the downward displacement of air. It is lighter. It will travel above air and air will be pushed down. As like water is pushed down, air can be also pushed down, but it is not collected by the downward displacement of air. Why? Because the mixture of air and hydrogen is highly explosive. It is highly explosive, catches fire and burns very fastly. So air and hydrogen is highly explosive, so we cannot or we do not collect it by the downward displacement of air, but it is collected by the simple technique of downward displacement of water, because it is immiscible with water, does not react with water, and collected above the water. Immiscible, not reactive, and lighter. So in this way, we can collect the hydrogen. So this was all for today, dear friends. In the next lecture, we will study about the chemical properties of hydrogen, the reactions of hydrogen, and the uses of hydrogen. So dear friends, this was all for today. I think you must have all understood this concept. Try to read your textbook, dear friends, with a pencil in your hand so that the concepts will be more clear for you. So let's meet in the next week again. In the next week, we will complete this chapter also, and one chapter will be remaining so that we can go for our revision part also. So this was all about in this week. You can solve your test, online Google test, and the assignment in your notebook. Dear friends, I request you all to save your notes properly. If you do not have it, please ask from your friends and get it from them. Okay, save them properly, all the assignments, Google test, everything you can save properly for your reference. So this was all from me. Hope that you all are studying regularly for your cycle test. I wish you all the best for you. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Have a nice day ahead. Bye bye. Take care.